Hi everyone, it's Karen here and welcome back to the Scrapbook.com channel. So glad you made it back. Today I have a card that I created using the Altenew Coral Charm Stamp and Die Set and Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers. I love the watercolor effect these markers create on my paper. The first thing I did is I took my Tim Holtz stamp platform and I took one of the stamps from the Coral Charm set. This set comes with a layered stamp that you can either create a layered flower or you can just stamp the outside image, which is the last image in the stamp set, and you can create your outside outline to color it in. So I took my VersaMark ink after I had added the powder to the background of the paper, and then after stamping it twice, I went ahead and stamped it in another place. The reason why I wanted to stamp it twice is when I want to make sure that the VersaMark ink really goes thoroughly on the whole stamp image. I also stamped the leaves, and the leaves I actually stamped 3 times because I wanted to have a larger bunch of leaves. Once I had stamped all the images, I took some white Ranger Superfine embossing powder and added it on all the images. Then I went ahead and heat set this with my heat tool and melted all the embossing powder. Embossing the image is a great thing, especially when you're using watercolor markers. This is because the embossed area resists any watercolor medium. So when you're using the water and diluting the markers, it will contain the area where you're using the watercolors. So it's a great thing to color in an image like that. The only drawback with having it embossed in white is that it's really hard to see on white paper. However, you can emboss with any embossing ink, could be black, clear, red, it doesn't really matter. However, I went ahead and I embossed in white, and then I put my lamp right on top of my paper so I could really see the embossed image well. For the background, I use Fabriano watercolor hot press paper. You can use cold press as well, but the important thing is to have a really smooth paper so you will be able to use the zig markers really smoothly on the back. And I really like the fact that it's smooth. It would also probably work on the Bristol paper, but I just had this hot press paper and I thought it was great, and I'm linking that below, as well as all the other products that I used today. So I started coloring with the lightest color, which is the yellow color, and this is marker number 50. The key to coloring flowers, especially with watercolors, is to use 3 different colors that are from the same similar shades. So for example, if you're picking a yellow, an orange, and a red, or you're picking 3 shades of orange, or 3 shades of blue, or 3 shades of green, you just pick one that is light, one that is medium, and one that is dark, and you start first with the lightest one. So I started with the yellow, and then here you see me working with the second one, which is the bright yellow. It's number 52 of the zig markers. Now these markers have a lot of pigment in them, so you really have to use very little bit in order to create a lot of color. So you put small amounts at the tip of the petals, and then I blended it with my Pentel water brush. This brush is filled with water, and then it blends the markers really well. You can also use it for any type of watercolors, and it comes in 3 different sizes, sometimes also in a set, which I'm linking below. And that way you can really blend the darker color with the lighter color as you're going down the petal. And that's a really easy thing to do, and you don't even need to press so hard on the brush as the water flows beautifully into the paper. The next color I used was the Scarlet red, and that's number 23, and that gave the strongest redness to the background. And I literally used one dot of it in each one of the petals and then went ahead and blended it. You want to make sure that you're not covering the yellow and the orange when you're using the darker color. So you want to just put a very little bit and then blend it up the petal so you can actually create that three-tone effect. I did the same technique to both flowers, but I'm only showing you how I colored one of them because I don't want to do anything that is too repetitive. As you can see, I'm just blending here the redness to give the flowers some depth. And that last color, which is the darkest one, really gives the flower the beautiful dark depth and the shadow on top of all the lighter colors, which are called the highlights of the flower. I find this type of watercoloring so relaxing. I just love painting in between the petals. It's just so nice to blend everything together. And a good idea would be to create your own watercolor book by stamping images and then coloring them with the zig markers. The next step was to color in the leaves. And I also took three colors that were light, intermediate, and dark so I could create the same effect on the leaves. I took the pale green, which is the first one that I used, and I basically colored the whole leaf with it. And then I went with the light green and just added a few more highlights in the middle. Finally, instead of going with a dark green, which is something that I could have done, I went in with a brownish color. It's called light oatmeal, and this blended beautifully with the green and created really nice effects in the background. The nice thing about the embossed area on the leaves is that it really resisted the watercolor, and you can see the veins of the leaves beautifully with the white. The last thing I did is took my glitter Wink Castella zig marker and just added a little bit of glitter all over both flowers and the three sets of leaves that I had created. It might be hard to see, but this clear zig Wink Castella marker really gives a beautiful glimmer to any project, and it's just so nice when you hold it up to the light. It glistens and it's really beautiful. The next step was to cut out the flower and the leaves, and I used the dies that come in the set because they match it perfectly. And the beauty about this Altenew set is that it actually already comes with the die and the stamps, so it's a little bit more economical than the other ones that they have. I used some microspore tape to just hold my dies onto the background and then ran them through my Vagabond machine. Once I had cut both of them, I wanted to stamp the sentiment, so I took 2 strips of paper and stamped the sentiment onto them. First, I used the powder tool to make it anti-static, and then I stamped it with VersaMark ink and embossed it with black embossing powder. This is the Ranger Super Fine Black Embossing Powder, which I keep inside a Tupperware box and use a little spoon to add to my stamped area. This is a great tip I picked up from Jennifer Maguire, who is the stamping and card queen. Then I heat set the black embossing ink and started assembling my card. The base of the card, which I cut out of orange cardstock, measures 4 by 6 inches. And then I cut 1/8 of an inch out of the other colors, which is the brown and the white, and I created mats for assembling my card. I also matted the sentiment with the same brown cardstock and used some foam tape to raise it a little bit from the edges so I could stick the flowers in between. Then I glued the white sentiment on top of the brown mat using some of the Umbrella Crafts adhesive roller. Then I took the flowers and stuck them underneath the sentiment as if they were coming out of the center. I stuck this with my roller again, and then I put the leaves as embellishments around the flowers. I put one of each leaf on each of the sides of the flowers, and then I took the third set of leaves and cut it out and added a little bit of each of the leaves on each of the flowers. It's so satisfying to actually finish up a card after you took a long time to design it and color it and assemble it. I just find it so rewarding to make the card and also stick the elements onto it and then give it to somebody special and hoping that they will appreciate it. But just making it on its own, it's so much fun and so relaxing. Finally, I took some Nuvo drops from Tonic Studio and added some black pearls to embellish the background. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more inspiration, subscribe to my channel and go to my website to sign up for my newsletter so you won't miss another post. All the links are below in the description area. Bye!